Hi everyone. I'm back with another one of these videos relating to creativity. I think I'm gonna call the series like creative exploration because that's kind of what I like to do. This particular episode is talking about setting deadlines for yourself, which I feel is pretty important because it kind of relates to the last episode. Aside from that, I'm curious about what you think about the content of these videos and the length. I had comments really on both sides of the spectrum saying that there was a really good length or maybe it should be shorter. I'm probably going to do a longer format for this one, but if you think a shorter format would work well, I will work on getting that going and trying to condense it down. Right now, I kind of like these stream of consciousness things, though, so I'm just going to go with this for a little while. So, really, the best part about working for yourself is that you get to set the schedule and you get to basically figure out what you want to do and how you want to do it. Unfortunately, this is also the worst part about working for yourself because since you are setting your own schedule, it's really difficult to kind of plan ahead and figure out what exactly you want to do in what order. And if you have multiple projects competing for your attention, it kind of all turns into a big mash and everything tries to get through the door at once and the door is only so big and nothing happens. And it just turns into kind of a gridlock, which I'm very familiar with. I've spent the past 15 years or so freelancing in one way or another. I used to do graphic design for like websites and print material, and then I moved on to music and I do programming a little bit. So it's like I'm kind of familiar with how it all fits together when it comes to freelancing and working for somebody, which is useful. But, you know, all of that requires a commitment of time, and it's really difficult to understand that commitment until you've overcommitted, and then suddenly you have 3 different clients asking you when this project's going to be done, and you honestly don't know. So it's finding the time to schedule and make your own schedule and just ensure that everything that you're doing is being moved forward at a continual pace, even if it's not, if it's not going to be done next week, just the fact that it's being moved forward and being attended to, So the worst projects are the ones that you make for yourself. And because you don't have a client and you don't always have a deadline, hopefully you have like a scope and like a set of parameters for what you want this to be when it's complete. But generally, these types of projects end up sitting on the sidelines, and it makes you feel bad when you think about them because it's like, oh, I've had this project sitting over here for 2 months and I haven't really worked on it. Why am I such a terrible person? But it's really hard to prioritize and figure out what you want to do when you have so many things competing for your attention, And the nice thing about setting deadlines for yourself is it keeps you accountable for what you are doing. And I think this is really incredibly important because when you know a deadline is coming up, even if it's a deadline you made for yourself, it automatically starts to prioritize your projects. Like, that this project needs to be done this weekend, so I need to work on this one now. And then, the other ones are done like 2 weeks from now or whatever, so that can wait. So when you do have free time, it gives you a lot more directed purpose, toward the projects that you have actively going. It's important when you are setting up your deadlines to know your capabilities and your limitations. Like if you're just starting out with music, or if you're just starting out with a certain project, like I'm just starting out with game development and it's taking me forever to do anything. It's good to know your limitations and what kind of estimation you think you're going to take for that project, like just time-wise. So what I do every couple months is I sit down for an hour or two and just try to plan out the next few weeks or months of projects. I try to figure out what's attainable within those months, and then I list them all out. And when you list them all out, that helps you because then you're able to find things that are easy to check off the list, things that are like a weekend project or something that you can just knock out of the way and not have to think about anymore. And when I am creating these lists, I've used all sorts of methods. In the past, I've created like a journal, just like a spiral binder that I kept with me everywhere, and I wrote down. I used to do daily to-do lists, which are just these little slips of paper. I have stuff on here. It says soundtrack Saturday and dinner and all that other stuff. It's really boring. But daily to-do lists, and I transfer things from yesterday to today if I haven't finished them. I've found this to be really useful. In the past, I've used just a text file that I've just dropped in my Dropbox, and then that syncs between all my computers, so I always have that available. I've even used email alerts just for various things, just being like, okay, you have 1 week left to do this, you better sit down and do it. Lately, I've been using Trello, but I know that there are a lot of applications similar to Trello out there. I like Trello just because it's a web application, and I can leave the tab open on my computer. And when I think of something for a project, or when I finish something on a project, I just have to go in there, click the button, and, you know, move on. I don't have to check something off a list or do anything like that. So now that there's a system in place for me to put all these notes down, I sit down and I break down all of the projects that I listed into individual steps. Trello is nice because you can create checklists, but I think most software applications can do that. But checklists are really important, at least to my personal process, because it creates simple to-dos to help keep things organized. So like I can listen to a song all day, like on my phone or whatever, and if I hear something that's wrong, then I can just write down what I need to fix, and then I don't have to think about it anymore. And then when I have the free time to go fix that song, I just I load up my checklist, and then I load up the song, and then I just go down the list because I know what I need to fix. I just need to go fix it. And this kind of divorces the creativity process a bit, and I think that that's completely okay, because when you're not thinking creatively, you can be a lot more directed and you're just fixing things. So you don't have to worry about getting into that flow state as much as you have to when you're just writing the song. And sometimes when I'm fixing things, like some things in the checklists are like, oh, I need to fix this solo, which does require, creative effort. But when I listen to songs, usually it's like, oh, well, the reverb in this section's too loud, just bring it down, something really basic like that. And earlier, I did mention physically writing down tasks, and I think that helps a ton. What I do is near the end of my workday, I sit down and write down all the things I want to accomplish that evening. Now, really, I rarely accomplish all of it because I get distracted too easily. But I find that writing things down physically really, really helps cement the idea that I have to do this and this is important. And even if it's really dumb stuff like, clean the studio, or we're having chicken stir fry for dinner tonight, or, whatever, it's like just writing that stuff down tells my brain that this is important and this is something that needs to get attention tonight. And, when you have a list, it's always rewarding to take your pen and just cross like 3 things off that list at the same time. So I'm going to go back to the long-term planning thing a little bit. When I do this, I think of the thing that is the farthest out, and then I kind of work backwards. Or sometimes, if it's not the furthest out, it's the most important. And my best example for this is last year, around June time, I had a lot of projects going on at the same time, and I know that I wanted to do the Naso Elmo in November. So I knew that November was going to be completely off limits. I had to finish everything before November. So I took that, and then I listed all my other projects. So I had the Stadtgeist album, and then I had a narration for an audiobook, and then I had the Unearth Initiative soundtrack. And I basically knew that November was blocked off, so I went backwards from November, and I put in all the other tasks that I had to do. And once I had the broad projects laid out, then I could go into each project and add more details. Like with the Stadtgeist album, I added the individual tracks and how long those tracks might take. And then once I had the tracks, then I could go into those tracks and I could like label out kind of just generally what I wanted to do with those tracks. Like I wanted this to be ambient. I wanted this to have like a sad tone to it, you know, whatever. And aside from that, I also allowed time for breaks in there, because being overburdened with a ton of projects or multiple projects with impossible deadlines is an excellent way to get nothing done at all, because it just leads to burnout so much faster. And I've definitely gotten there before. Actually, after the Naso Elmo, I burned out crazy hard because it was a very aggressive schedule for me. And lately I've been doing a little bit more relaxed schedule, which is nice. But you know, if you burn out, then all of a sudden you don't have to start over, but you have to get your momentum back, and that can take a long time. Like I was out for maybe a month and a half before I started working on things again. And that can lead to depression and a whole bunch of other crap that, you know, nobody really wants to deal with. So yeah, a full workload can be super empowering, but just be really careful about how hard you push it. Just make sure that you allow time for breaks, and you just keep your sanity in mind while you're making these as well. So in the end, since I created deadlines for all my personal projects, I've been a lot more motivated and focused when I'm actually doing them, because I usually have direction right away when I sit down to work on something. I know exactly what I need to do, and not always how I need to do it, but it's always sitting in my mind while I'm doing other stuff. It's like, okay, I know I have this project going on, and this song is my priority right now. What exactly can I do to work on that? And then I can always be writing down notes for that project. And I think that creating a schedule and creating deadlines makes it a lot easier to maintain a steady and consistent production schedule, which I think is important for a lot of different reasons. For one, just from like a social media and outreach, like just getting your name out there, being consistent is very important to getting people to notice you. At least that I've found, and I've heard that from a lot of other people as well. And finally, it's good to know what I'm working on now and what I'm going to work on next, so I can plan ahead. Like I said, it's like you always have those in the back of your mind. You can always just make notes when you think of something. So yeah, I think that everybody should at least give this a try, to just kind of sit down for a half hour or an hour and just figure out what goals you have for the next couple weeks or maybe month or two. And then just plan a schedule and then just get to work, you know, just trying to find the best way to manage yourself. And I know that this is a personal thing and it's not always going to work for everybody, but I've found that this type of system works really well for a lot of different types of people. So if you have any thoughts or comments, or if you want to contribute to this conversation in any way, I would love to hear it in the comment section below. I know that these video formats are a little bit long, and depending on what I hear from people, I might try to shorten them up, but I really do like the kind of the stream of consciousness flow of these conversations, and I don't want to minimalize what I am saying by just turning it into a bulleted list, because I feel like then it could just be a blog post, and a lot of these are actually pulled from blog posts. So it kind of reduces the point, I think. But I mean, if people want shorter videos, I'm more than happy to provide that. I just kind of want to know what people think. Finally, as always, you can follow me on social media. The links are down there. Any way to boost the signal and just get these videos out there would be greatly appreciated, just because it's very difficult to get word out these days. As if you're a creator, you probably already know that. So liking, sharing, all that good stuff. So that's all I have for today. Like I said, hopefully I'll be doing these on a weekly basis, but we'll see what my schedule looks like and if I can continue it. Going back to the whole scheduling thing when setting deadlines, it's like I want to make sure that I don't drive myself crazy with these. So I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great day. Take care.